Good afternoon, friends. I hope that at this point in the day, you've had a chance to do all of your AM learning videos, watch the story of the kissing hand, and you've had a chance to do a little brain break, um, and get up and move around. Maybe you had lunch, maybe you had a snack. Um, Normally, we will have 3 learning videos a day. One is the AM video that includes your reading material. Then you will have a later afternoon video that has your math and social studies or art or science, whatever we do that day. And then the other one that we'll post is the read aloud. And every day we'll do a read aloud. And I thought for this first week of school, I would like to share with you some of my favorite stories. And then going forward after this week, we'll actually start reading chapter books that we will read a chapter or two each day and keep reading it until the book is over. And it might take a week and it might take 2 weeks. So for this week, I'm going to read a different book every day. And then going forward, we'll read the same book over the course of a couple of days, maybe a week or two, and then keep going in a series. So yeah, one of my favorite books is called Chrysanthemum. And I chose this book because it is about a little girl, Mouse, who's going to school for the first time. And I know all of my first graders in our class have been to school before, but it is still kind of nerve-wracking the first day of first week of school. So I think there's some things in this story that you might be able to relate to. So Chrysanthemum by Kevin Henkes. And if you do not know this author, get to know him because he has a lot of really excellent books. We'll read some more as the year goes on. The day she was born was the happiest day in her parents' life. She's perfect, said her mother. She's absolutely, said her father. And she was. She was absolutely perfect. There she is. Her name must be everything she is, said her mother. Her name must be absolutely perfect, said her father. And it was. Chrysanthemum. Her parents named her Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum grew and grew and grew, and when she was old enough to appreciate it, Chrysanthemum loved her name. It's a very unique name. She loved the way it sounded when her mother woke her up. She loved the way it sounded when her father called her for dinner. She loved the way it sounded when she whispered it to herself in the bathroom mirror. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum loved the way her name looked when it was written with ink on an envelope. She loved the way it looked when it was written with icing on her birthday cake. And she loved the way it looked when she wrote it herself with her fat orange crayon. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. So there it is on the envelope. This is the birthday cake. This is her fat orange crayon. She's just having so much fun with her name. Chrysanthemum thought her name was absolutely perfect. And then she started school. On the first day, Chrysanthemum wore her sunniest dress and her brightest smile. She ran all the way to school. Hooray, said Chrysanthemum, school! So there she is, wearing her bright sunny dress on her way to school. But when Mrs. Chud took roll call, everyone giggled upon hearing Chrysanthemum's name. So if you look at this picture, there's Mrs. Chud, Dawn, Eve, Lois, Al, Les, Kay, Max, Sue, Bill, Pat, Tom, Sam, what's that one say? Ken, Joe, Rita, Victoria, and Chrysanthemum. Look, her name barely fits on the page. It's so long, said Joe. It scarcely fits on your name tag, said Rita, pointing. I'm named after my grandmother, said Victoria. You're named after a flower. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. There she is, wilting. The rest of the day was not much better During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and informed Mrs. Chudd that Chrysanthemum's name was spelled with 13 letters. That's exactly half as many letters as there are in the entire alphabet, Victoria explained. Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Chudd. Now put your head down. So there she is during nap time, announcing to the whole group that Chrysanthemum's name has 13 letters. If I had a name like yours, I'd change it, Victoria said as the students lined up to go home. I wish I could, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. So there's Victoria being mean, and there's Chrysanthemum looking sad. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School is no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. My name is too long. It scarcely fits on my name tag, and I'm named after a flower. Oh, pish, said her mother. Your name is beautiful. And precious and priceless and fascinating and winsome, said her father. It's everything you are, said her mother. Absolutely perfect. There she is coming home, all sad, and her parents are trying to cheer her up. Chrysanthemum felt much better after her favorite dinner, macaroni and cheese with ketchup, and an evening filled with hugs and kisses and parcheesi. Parcheesi is a game that people used to play a lot. We don't play it so much anymore, but it's fun. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that her name was Jane. It was an extremely pleasant dream. So there she is playing games with her mom and dad after dinner, and here she is dreaming in her bed about having the name of Jane. The next morning, Chrysanthemum wore her most comfortable jumper. She walked to school as slowly as she could. She dragged her feet in the dirt. Chrysanthemum, 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 she wrote. She even looks like a flower, said Victoria, as Chrysanthemum entered the playground. Let's pick her, said Rita, pointing. Let's smell her, said Joe. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. So there she is on her way to school, so happy, writing her name in the sand. Then she gets to the playground and everyone's pointing and making fun of her name. Probably doesn't make her feel very good. Wouldn't make me feel very good. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and said, A chrysanthemum is a flower. It lives in a garden with worms and other dirty things. Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Chudd. Now put your head down. I just cannot believe your name, Victoria said as the students lined up to go home. Neither can I, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. So there she is during nap time. And there she is at the end of the day. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School is no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. They said I even look like a flower. They pretended to pick me and smell me. Oh, pish, said her mother. They're just jealous. And envious and begrudging and discontented and jaundiced, said her father. Who wouldn't be jealous of a name like yours? After all, it's absolutely perfect. Chrysanthemum felt a trifle better after her favorite dessert, chocolate cake with buttercream frosting, and another evening filled with hugs and kisses and parcheesi. So there she is coming home, sitting outside the window feeling sad. There she is after dinner eating her cake, and after playing games, feeling better. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that she really was a chrysanthemum. She sprouted leaves and petals. Victoria picked her and plucked the leaves and petals one by one until there was nothing left but a scrawny stem. It was the worst nightmare of Chrysanthemum's life. Chrysanthemum wore her outfit with 7 pockets the next morning. She loaded the pockets with her most prized possessions and her good luck charms. Chrysanthemum took the longest route possible to school. She stopped and stared at each and every flower. Chrysanthemum, 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 the flowers seemed to say. So there she is having her nightmare. There's Chrysanthemum as an actual flower, and she's picking her petals. And then here she is the next day on her way to school with her pockets filled with her most prized possessions. That morning, the students were introduced to Mrs. Twinkle, the music teacher. Her voice was like something out of a dream and was everything else about her. The students were speechless. They thought Mrs. Twinkle was an indescribable wonder. They went out of their way to make a nice impression. Mrs. Twinkle led the students in scales. When you're a music teacher and you lead students in scales, it means you're singing up and down in different notes. Then she assigned roles for the class musical. Victoria was chosen as the dainty fairy queen. Rita was chosen as the spiffy butterfly princess. Jo was chosen as the all-important pixie messenger. And Chrysanthemum was chosen as a daisy. So here they are meeting Miss Twinkle. And here they are getting their assignments for the school musical. Chrysanthemum's a daisy, chrysanthemum's a daisy. Jo, Rita, and Victoria chanted, thinking it wildly funny. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. "What's so humorous?" asked Mrs. Twinkle. "Chrysanthemum," was the answer. "Her name is so long," said Jo. "It scarcely fits on her name tag," said Rita, pointing. "I'm named after my grandmother," said Victoria. "She's named after a flower." So here they are, making fun of her for being a daisy, and here they are explaining to Mrs. Twinkle about why her name is so funny. "My name is long," said Mrs. Twinkle. "It is," said Jo. "My name would scarcely fit on a name tag," said Mrs. Twinkle. "It would," said Rita. "And," said Mrs. Twinkle, "I'm named after a flower, too." "You are?" said Victoria. "Yes," said Mrs. Twinkle. "My name is Delphinium. Delphinium Twinkle. And if my baby is a girl, I'm considering naming her Chrysanthemum. I think it's absolutely perfect." Chrysanthemum could scarcely believe her ears. She blushed, she beamed, she bloomed. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. So here's this teacher that everyone loves and adores, who also has a flower name and is thinking about naming her baby the same name as Chrysanthemum. So she's feeling very, very good. Jo, Rita, and Victoria looked at Chrysanthemum longingly. "Call me Marigold," said Jo. "I'm Carnation," said Rita, pointing. "My name is Lily of the Valley," said Victoria. Chrysanthemum did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She knew it. Now everyone wants a flower name like Chrysanthemum. Oh, and here's an epilogue. This is a follow-up to a story. Overall, the class musical was a huge success. Chrysanthemum was absolutely perfect as a daisy. Victoria made the only mistake. She completely forgot her lines as the dainty fairy queen. Chrysanthemum thought it was wildly funny, and she giggled throughout the entire dance of flowers. Eventually, Mrs. Twinkle gave birth to a healthy baby girl, and of course, she named her Chrysanthemum. There's the baby girl. There's Victoria making the mistake. The Dance of the Flowers. Now, isn't that a nice book?